How to replace boat alternator bearings. If you have noticed unusual noises or performance issues with your boat's alternator, it might be time to replace the bearings. This task can seem daunting, but with the right steps, you can do it yourself. Let's walk through the process together. First, confirm that the bearings actually need replacement. You can do this by testing the alternator. Once you are sure, start by disconnecting the alternator from the boat's electrical system. This involves removing it from the engine mount. Typically, you will need to loosen the mounting and tensioning bolts and disconnect the wiring carefully. Next, it's time to disassemble the alternator. You will need to remove the rear or front cover plates that hold the bearings in place. Be cautious here. You may need to unsolder electrical connections inside the alternator to separate the rotating assembly from the stator. Take care not to damage the insulator or other components, as some parts cannot be replaced individually. Now let's focus on removing the old bearings. If you have a bearing puller tool, that's ideal. If not, you can carefully pry them out with screwdrivers. Place the alternator or its parts on a stable surface, like a 2x4 block, to support it during this process. Gently tap the bearing puller or your tools to avoid damaging the alternator housing. When it comes to installing the new bearings, choose a socket or tool that matches the inner race of the bearing. This will help you avoid applying pressure to the bearing seals or outer race. Tap the new bearing evenly and fully into its seat until it is flush with the housing. Make sure the bearing is properly seated to prevent premature wear. Now, reassemble the alternator by reinstalling the cover plates and resoldering any electrical connections you had to undo. Check to ensure that the shaft rotates smoothly without binding or roughness. Before putting the alternator back on the boat engine, apply anti-corrosion lubricant, such as Tef gel, on the mounting bolts and contact surfaces. This will help prevent corrosion and make future maintenance easier. Reattach the alternator securely to the engine mount, ensuring everything is aligned properly and the belt tension is correct. Finally, reconnect the wiring and test the alternator while the engine is running. This will help you verify that everything is functioning correctly and that the bearings are operating quietly. This process requires some mechanical skill and the right tools, including bearing pullers, sockets, soldering equipment, and a stable work surface. By replacing the alternator bearings on your boat, you can maintain reliable electrical power for your onboard systems and avoid costly alternator replacements in the future.